Hey guys, tonight we're stepping into the shoes of someone who accidentally kicked off one of the most controversial, beloved, and algorithmically brilliant apps the world has ever seen, TikTok. But not as a fan, no. Tonight you are Zhang Yiming, and spoiler alert, you might not survive your first 48 hours as a startup founder unless you've got a high caffeine tolerance and a weirdly precise vision for how people want to waste time on their phones. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Also, hit up the comments and tell me where you're listening from and what time it is right now. I love knowing who's out there on the other side of the scroll. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're pacing across the floor of a tiny Beijing apartment in early 2012. It's humid, your fan rattles like it's 2 summers past retirement, and the air smells vaguely like instant noodles and late-night ambition. You're 29, a former software engineer from Microsoft, and an up-and-coming product manager at a real estate app company. You've quit your job again to chase something fuzzier than a salary. The idea that algorithms, not editors, should decide what people see on their phones. And you're not alone. Your co-founder, Liang Rubo, is sitting cross-legged on the floor beside you with a whiteboard marker in his mouth, sketching out architecture diagrams for what will become ByteDance. Your guiding principle? People don't want to search anymore. They want the internet to read their minds. And that's the pitch for your first real product, Toutiao, a news app with a twist. Unlike traditional news apps that bombard users with the same headlines, you'll build one that watches what users click on, how long they read, when they scroll, and even how quickly they thumb past a sentence. You'll train your app to learn what they want before they even know it. Creepy? Maybe. But effective? Absolutely. The crazy part? It works. Toutiao grows like bamboo in spring. By mid-2013, your app hits 13 million daily active users, and that's just in China. You raise $100 million in funding from top VCs, and for the first time in your life, you have more server bills than hot meals, but you're not satisfied. Because deep down, you feel the future is not just about written content. You keep looking at these 15-second video apps that are cropping up among teenagers. You think, this is it. The attention span is shrinking. Kids don't want to read. They want short, punchy, personality-driven video. And your algorithm? Oh, it was born for this. But you're still stuck with that one tiny detail. What should the product look like? You spend sleepless nights studying Vine, Instagram, and Snapchat like you're preparing for an exam that'll decide the fate of your company. Then, in a journal that looks like it's been through war, you write one sentence that shapes everything. Short-form video powered by AI, not social graphs. It's a spicy idea. Because while every other platform is pushing content from people you know, you decide to do the opposite. You'll show people content from people they don't know, but who they will love. The algorithm, not their friends, becomes the curator. You take that leap, and in September 2016, after 6 months of building in near total secrecy, you launch a prototype. You call it Douyin. It's clean, fast, hypnotic, and only available in China, for now. You don't even spend that much on marketing. Instead, you partner with a few internet-famous Chinese creators and watch the feedback loop start spinning. Users post, others remix. Comments spark new trends. Hashtags go viral. Laughter gets looped, mimicked, multiplied. The retention curve on your dashboard makes your heart race. It bends upward. That never happens. Most apps spike, then fade. But Douyin? It hooks people. You realize you're not just feeding users entertainment. You're offering them a way to feel seen, hilarious, artistic, famous, all within 15 seconds. You're building not a platform, but a stage. And your secret weapon, the algorithm, is doing most of the heavy lifting. Funny enough, some product managers in Silicon Valley would later say, you got lucky. That you simply rode the wave of mobile video. But inside your walls, the truth feels different. This wasn't luck, it was design. You made the video short because it lowered the production barrier. You made the vertical layout because it felt native to how people already held their phones. And you made the algorithm do the heavy lifting so people didn't have to chase followers to feel validated. One quirky note, in those early Douyin days, your moderation team manually reviewed every single piece of content before it went live. Yep, human eyeballs, around the clock. It was intense, expensive, and probably not scalable, but you were that obsessed with curating quality. Ironically, some Chinese digital historians still debate whether that early hands-on approach was key to your success or a waste of resources you didn't have. The textbooks haven't agreed, but none of that matters to you right now, because in your bones, you know what's next. You're going global, and trust me, things are about to get way more complicated. You stare at a blinking cursor on your laptop screen, somewhere in your Beijing office in early 2017. Outside, scooters zip past, the streets hum with everyday chaos, but your brain is locked in one question. How do you take doing global without being swallowed by the giants already out there? Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat. They've got the users, the money, and the war chests to copy any good idea in 6 weeks or less. But here's the thing. You've got something they don't. You've got the algorithm, and your hunch is that while the rest of the world's apps are busy showing people what their friends are doing, you're going to show them what they didn't even know they loved. So you clone Douyin, give it a fresh name, something snappy, English-friendly, easy to remember. You call it TikTok. Short, rhythmic, kinda catchy like a metronome. You don't make a big announcement. No fireworks, no tech press blitz. Instead, you sneak it into Southeast Asia first. Thailand, specifically. You want to test whether the algorithm trained on Chinese users can learn new cultures, new humor, new music tastes, without missing a beat. And guess what? It kinda can. Thai teens start using TikTok to lip sync, dance, and, your favorite surprise, mock each other's videos in parody chains that go semi-viral. Fast. It's clunky at first. There are localization bugs, cultural hiccups, awkward translations. One early version accidentally suggested Japanese anime music to users watching Indian cricket memes. Not ideal. But still, you see enough signal through the noise. You're getting somewhere. Then you make a call that'll change the game. You greenlight a $1 billion acquisition to buy Musical.ly, an American-based lip-sync app with a hyper-engaged teenage fanbase. Why? Because while TikTok is still the new kid on the block, Musical.ly already has traction in the US, Canada, and parts of Europe. The two apps feel like cousins. Musical.ly had the users, but you've got the tech and the product vision. Still, your team debates it hard. Some argue you're overpaying. Others think the Musical.ly community, young, loud, and deeply Gen Z, won't migrate well to your slicker, more AI-driven platform. You nod. Then you say one sentence that ends the argument. We're not buying the app, we're buying the time we'd lose trying to catch up. Deal closed. November 2017, price tag? Around $1 billion. Back in China, your team works insane hours on the next phase, fusing the two platforms into one. It's messy. You have to merge user accounts, content libraries, content moderation rules, and all kinds of back-end stuff that gives even your best engineers headaches. But there's no turning back. In August 2018, you finally hit the button. TikTok and Musical.ly become one.
Millions of users get that weird push notification. Musical.ly is now TikTok. Cue confusion, celebration, and a healthy dose of TikTokers freaking out about whether their videos will survive. Most do, but not all. You lose some creators in the transition. You brace for backlash. Instead, something amazing happens. Within weeks, TikTok's US growth explodes. It climbs to the top of the App Store download charts. Teens start ditching Snapchat stories for TikTok skits. Dance trends pop up overnight. Memes mutate at light speed. You know you've struck gold. Meanwhile, your competitors, they're still playing catch up. Facebook launches Lasso. It flops. Instagram starts work on Reels, but it's still just a sketch on a whiteboard at this point. By late 2018, TikTok has passed 500 million monthly users globally. And the best part? You're not even spending big on ads. You're spending on distribution hacking, like running hashtag challenges. You toss a couple $1,000s at a campaign, encourage users to dance to a certain song, and boom, it spreads like wildfire. You start paying influencers, sure, but you also rely on something else. The For You page is democratic. You can have 0 followers and still get 1 million views if your content lands just right. And that's different. That's what hooks people. One viral video could change someone's life. That's the pitch, and it's real. Creators start sharing stories like, I went viral on TikTok, and now I'm paying my rent with brand deals. Music labels take notice too. A random song from a little-known artist starts trending in Brazil thanks to a dance challenge. Streams shoot up. Labels start calling you. At this point, people inside TikTok's offices start whispering that the app isn't just a platform anymore. It's a cultural thermostat. It doesn't reflect what's cool. It decides what's cool. But let's be honest, not everyone loves it. Parents raise eyebrows at how much time their kids are spending on it. Skeptics say it's just Vine 2.0 with better lipstick. And somewhere in a university lab, researchers begin studying your recommendation system. They wonder, is this level of personalized content too personalized? Some say it's brilliant. Others say it's addictive. There's no academic consensus yet, and maybe there never will be. But you keep going. Because behind the scenes, your roadmap is just getting started. And your app? Well, it's about to go from trendy distraction to cultural juggernaut. You're back in your Beijing office, sipping lukewarm coffee and staring at a growth chart that looks like it was drawn with a ruler, straight up. But don't get too comfortable. It's 2018, and you're about to go from a breakout success to a household name. But with that visibility comes pressure. Legal, social, and very human pressure. Right now, TikTok is exploding in markets you never expected. Turkey, Indonesia. The US kids are sharing TikTok dances in cafeterias. Moms are doing duet videos with their kids. And somewhere in rural Germany, a guy dressed as a banana is now somehow an internet celebrity. You know it's working. But you also know there's a problem most platforms your size don't solve until it's too late. Moderation. Because when you build a system where anyone can go viral, anything can go viral. And not all of it is harmless. So you begin scaling up your trust and safety operations like your reputation depends on it. Because it literally does. You open content moderation centers in California, Dublin, Singapore, and of course in China. Each one runs 24/7. Hundreds of people reviewing uploads, flagging issues, responding to reports. At first, they're just trying to keep up with the sheer volume. People are uploading millions of videos per day. Some are adorable, some are disturbing, and some live in that gray zone of technically fine, but definitely problematic. Here's where it gets messy. Your algorithm doesn't just show people what's popular. It actively tests different types of content on different audiences. It watches how long they linger, how quickly they swipe, how many times they re-watch.
Then it recalibrates over and over. It's like a curiosity-seeking missile, and it's really good at learning what makes people stare at their screens. Too good, some would argue. You start getting heat for potentially promoting harmful trends, dangerous challenges, unrealistic beauty filters, even misinformation. Critics call your content loop a dopamine slot machine. Neuroscientists start poking around, trying to figure out if your algorithm is rewiring teen brains. A few schools in the US even send home letters warning parents about TikTok usage. You push back, you update your community guidelines, you build parental controls, you add a digital well-being dashboard. But inside, you're asking the harder question: can an algorithm really be ethical? Even today, ethicists, computer scientists, and former employees still argue about this. Some say yes, it's just a tool, like fire or a fork. Others say no, because once the system is optimized for engagement, it always trends toward the extremes. One of your developers writes on a whiteboard, "Do we show people what they want or what's good for them?" No one erases it. But for now, you focus on what you can control. Surfacing good content, highlighting creators who uplift, and partnering with experts in child safety and mental health. It's a constant game of whack-a-mole, and honestly, no one's cracked the perfect system. You're just trying not to fall behind. Meanwhile, your team's launching new features at breakneck speed. Duets, green screen effects, AI filters. These tools don't just help users post, they turn them into performers. Suddenly, people who never felt creative are making videos that look like they were edited in a studio. The content gets better, the virality gets crazier. A grandma in Kansas posts a dance, wakes up with 4 million likes. A high school kid in Nigeria drops a 12-second comedy skit. Within a week, he's fielding offers from ad agencies. A Canadian nurse shares her pandemic shift routine. It goes viral. Her hospital has to start screening calls from journalists. And as all of this happens, one word keeps echoing through your offices: scale. You're no longer a quirky upstart. Your infrastructure, your bandwidth, your culture, and that scares people. In boardrooms from London to Jakarta, regulators are starting to take notice. They want to know: who decides what's trending? Where's this data going? What do you really know about your users? The questions pile up, and you realize something that will define the next chapter of your company. Growth isn't just about gaining users, it's about gaining responsibility. And this isn't just a startup anymore. This is a global stage. You're sitting in a sleek office tower in Los Angeles now. Well, your US team is. You're still mostly in Beijing, eyes darting between dashboards and government reports. It's mid-2019, and while your Chinese core team keeps the algorithm humming, your American branch is wrestling with something entirely different: how to make TikTok feel like a local product in every country it touches. And that means culture. You're not just building a product anymore. You're building an experience. And Americans, they don't want to feel like they're using a Chinese app, even if they are. So, your US team leans hard into local creator outreach. They hit up high schools in suburban Texas, sponsor dances at basketball halftime shows, even partner with YouTubers to pretend they just discovered TikTok. You know it's not organic, but it looks organic. And TikTok starts to feel less like a foreign app and more like the digital cafeteria table everyone wants to sit at. Then, something magic happens. Her name is Charli D'Amelio, a Connecticut teenager with braces, a ring light, and surprisingly clean footwork. She posts a dance to a song called Renegade. It goes nuclear. You watch, almost in real time, as a regular high schooler becomes a global celebrity, all within a few weeks. One dance, one song, one bedroom. You didn't plan it. You didn't need to. The algorithm did what it does best: recognized engagement patterns, tested clips on fresh eyeballs, looped and boosted and looped again. By the time the media catches on, Charlie has more followers than most cable networks have viewers, and she's not alone. Addison Rae, Bella Porch, Cabby Lame. TikTok isn't just showcasing creators, it's creating them. They're not polished, they're not rich, they're not influencers in the traditional sense, but they are relatable. They dance in sweatpants, they joke about being broke, they film in garages, and your For You page doesn't care if they're famous. It just cares if you watch. Somewhere in a Harvard lecture hall, a digital media professor is trying to explain how TikTok turned the content pyramid upside down. He says, "It's not about who you follow, it's about what the algorithm can find." Meanwhile, advertisers are watching too, and they're drooling. They start asking questions like, "How do we get in on this?" And you say, "Let's try hashtag challenges." So you partner with Chipotle. The result? The hashtag guac dance challenge. Simple prompt, silly song, free guac, and then chaos. People post videos of themselves dancing with tacos, burritos, and imaginary avocados. In just 6 days, you rack up 250,000 videos and 430 million views. Chipotle sees its biggest digital sales day ever. That's when brands really get it. TikTok isn't just an app, it's an attention engine. And suddenly, everyone wants in. From the NFL to indie game developers, the gold rush is on. But it's not just marketing. You notice something deeper. TikTok is changing how people think about content. The idea of aesthetic gets redefined. You no longer need polished lighting or perfect editing. You just need an idea and 15 seconds. A kid in Malaysia builds a fake store display out of cardboard. It goes viral. A grandma in Argentina teaches Spanish slang. She gets fan mail. An introvert in Canada lip syncs with a cactus. Millions of likes. You've built a platform that feels less like Hollywood and more like open mic night at a cafe where anyone can own the stage for a few glorious minutes. And this messiness, this weirdness, this rawness, it's the magic. Of course, not everyone sees it that way. Some say TikTok is a digital distraction factory. Others say it's a breeding ground for cringe, copycats, and clout chasing. Even inside TikTok, there are debates. Should you lean more into educational content? Should you nudge creators towards social responsibility? Should you just let the algorithm do its thing? The answer? Nobody knows. And honestly, that ambiguity is part of the charm and the challenge. You're no longer asking, will people use TikTok? You're now asking, what kind of world are we building inside it? And you don't quite know yet. But tomorrow you'll wake up, open the app, and watch a new trend catch fire from a kid whose name no one knew yesterday. And for now, that's enough. You wake up one morning in early 2020 to a string of messages. Server load is spiking. Again. You check the back-end dashboards and everything's off the charts. Retention, up. Session time, way up. Uploads, ridiculous. You rub your eyes and blink at the timestamp. Late February, then it hits you. The world is shutting down. COVID-19 is here, schools closed, offices empty, concerts, sports, movies, even gyms canceled. But phones? Oh, those are wide open. And TikTok? TikTok is on fire. You scroll through trending videos. Nurses doing dance challenges on break. Families making comedy sketches in their living rooms. Pets getting better edits than Hollywood trailers. And that audio over and over. I'm bored in the house, and I'm in the house bored. It's an anthem. you're not surprised. People are stuck indoors with nothing but time and cabin fever, and your app is a portal. Not just to entertainment, but to other people, a sense of connection when real life feels like a paused movie. You double down. More engineering staff, more server space, more community managers. TikTok becomes the place people go to laugh, vent, cry, and occasionally bake bread. You see the rise of the whipped coffee trend, banana bread, dance marathons in socks. A science teacher explains viruses using kitchen utensils. A doctor in scrubs films a day in the life that makes viewers cry, then laugh, then share. It's not just fluff, it's people adapting. And creators? They're everywhere now. You see school teachers go viral, therapists, janitors, pilots with no flights to fly. And because everyone's watching, brands start showing up differently too. Not polished commercials, but TikToks. Raw, relatable, kinda weird. Ocean Spray doesn't pay for a campaign, but a guy named Nathan Apodaca, better known as @420dogface208, posts a video of himself skateboarding, sipping cranberry juice, vibing to Fleetwood Mac. No production, no script, just vibes. It becomes the defining video of the pandemic. Ocean Spray stocks spike. Fleetwood Mac re-enters the charts. And you? You don't even do anything. The algorithm does it all. That's the scary beauty of it. And maybe the problem. Because as TikTok becomes the app of the pandemic, scrutiny intensifies. You start seeing news articles questioning your rise. Why is this app so good at knowing what people want to watch? Why are kids spending 3-4 hours a day here? And the big one, where is all this data going? You've had concerns before, but now politicians are paying attention. Especially in India, June 29th, 2020. You get the call. TikTok is officially banned in India. The country that gave you over 200 million users has wiped you off the map. Boom. Gone. The reason? National security concerns tied up with border tensions and rising suspicion about Chinese tech. You scramble. Teams go into overdrive trying to save user data, calm partners, and figure out what this means for your growth strategy. There's no fix. It's done. And it hurts. India wasn't just a big market, it was one of your best markets. Your app had become a gateway for rural creators to gain global audiences. You were powering dreams in places mainstream media never reached. Now it's over. And the thing is, you get it. You may not agree, but you understand the politics. It's not just about videos. It's about control, about influence, about sovereignty. But it's a wake-up call. If India can shut you down overnight, so can others. You start whispering the words, diversification, local compliance, data governance. Words that feel a lot less fun than viral, duet, or FYP. But this is your new reality. You're no longer the underdog. You're infrastructure. And the world has noticed. And while you're mourning the loss of India, somewhere across the Pacific, the next storm is already brewing. It's July 2020, and your inbox looks like a scene from a disaster movie. Subject lines are all caps. Words like emergency, executive order, and national security are flying around like confetti at a parade you never wanted to attend. This time, it's not India, it's the United States, and the message is loud and clear. The White House wants TikTok gone. You blink at your screen in disbelief. An executive order from the president demanding that ByteDance sell off TikTok's US operations or else face a nationwide ban? This is not a drill. You thought maybe this would blow over like some of the earlier whispers. But now, you're watching government officials on live TV calling TikTok a national security threat. Senators, state attorneys, even late-night hosts are weighing in. It's surreal. And sure, there's nuance in the legal paperwork and back-end infrastructure debates, but on the surface, the story being told is simple. TikTok is a Chinese app, and it's harvesting American data. Never mind that your US data is housed on servers in Virginia and Singapore. Never mind that your moderation teams include American employees, or that the app's branding has little visible connection to China anymore. Public perception is slippery, and right now, you're losing the narrative. So what do? You go into full crisis mode. You bring in heavyweight lawyers. You set up emergency meetings with the US Treasury Department. You start drafting pitches to potential buyers. Microsoft, Walmart, Oracle, Walmart. Of all people. And in the middle of all this, you do something bold. You appoint a new CEO, an American. From Disney, Kevin Mayer, former head of Disney Plus, the guy who helped launch The Mandalorian. He walks in like a PR parachute, tasked with proving to regulators, parents, and lawmakers that TikTok is not a security threat. It's a brand new kind of entertainment company. But here's the twist, he barely lasts 3 months. By August, the legal landscape has become so tangled and the geopolitical stakes so confusing, he resigns. You don't blame him. Nobody knows how this ends. You even take the US government to court to challenge the executive order. TikTok suing the federal government? That wasn't on anyone's 2020 bingo card. And here's the weirdest part. Your users, they rally behind you. Teenagers flood social media with posts like #, save TikTok. Some claim they'll delete every app if TikTok gets banned. Others organize rallies. A few even troll political campaigns. One teenager writes, "TikTok is literally the only thing keeping me sane during quarantine." And yeah, it's not exactly a scientific defense, but it is a reminder. TikTok isn't just a product anymore. It's an identity, a habit, a place. And if it disappears, people don't just lose entertainment, they lose community. Still, your legal team knows emotion won't save you, so you pivot again. You start building a firewall strategy, something you quietly name Project Texas. The idea? Create a standalone entity for TikTok US operations, with American leadership, American data centers, and oversight from a trusted US-based tech company. Oracle steps in as your new trusted technology partner. You begin crafting a plan that involves $1.5 billion in infrastructure and compliance measures. US user data will now be stored on American soil by an American company. It's a bureaucratic Rubik's Cube, but it gives you a path forward. And here's the kicker. Even though the political drama plays out like a soap opera, the app, it just keeps growing. While you're drafting legal affidavits, kids are going viral doing choreographed dances in parking lots. While you're meeting with data compliance consultants, Kabilame is silently shrugging his way to global superstardom. TikTok doesn't slow down. Not for courtrooms, not for executive orders, not even for presidential tweets. And in the halls of Stanford and Wharton, business students still argue over this period. Was Project Texas a brilliant PR pivot or an over-engineered Band-Aid? Nobody agrees, but here's what they do agree on. You survived. You went up against the most powerful government in the world and lived to scroll another day. You're back in your war room. Well, technically, it's a conference room with too many screens and not enough snacks, but it feels like a war room. It's early 2021, and even though the dust is still settling from the legal roller coaster that nearly got you booted out of the US, you're not sitting still. You know TikTok can't just be a fun app anymore. It has to be a business, a big one. Which means, yeah, it's time to talk. Monetization. You've seen the pattern before. First, users come for free content. Then brands come to follow the eyeballs. Then someone says, "Hey, where's the checkout button?" And suddenly, you're not just running a social platform. You're building a mall, a weird, hyper-personalized, vertical scrolling mall where the mannequins dance and the customers have the attention span of a goldfish on espresso. So you give it a name, TikTok Shop. At first, it's small. Some beauty influencers in Indonesia get access to in-video purchase links. A few pop singers in Thailand experiment with merch drops. But the promise is massive. You dream of an internet where a user can see a cool outfit in a video, tap on it, buy it, and never leave the app. No middlemen, no websites, no distraction. Just scroll, want, tap, own. Your product managers call it seamless commerce. The marketing team just calls it dangerously easy. But building it, that's the hard part. Because it turns out shopping, like real shopping, is messy. You need logistics, returns, trust systems, seller dashboards, customer service bots that don't glitch when someone types, "Where's my lipstick?" And culture plays a role too. What works in Vietnam doesn't work in the UK. Americans hate waiting for shipping. Indonesians want live stream deals. Brits want clean UI. Malaysians want to haggle in the comments. You quickly realize TikTok may be global, but commerce is local. Still, you push forward. You onboard tens of thousands of small sellers. You start nudging creators to include product links in their videos. You give brands the tools to build storefronts and creators the tools to earn commissions. You even experiment with live shopping. Yes, actual live shows, where creators sell products in real time, answer questions, and toss out limited time coupons like digital game show hosts. In China, this model is huge. Live streamers sell everything, from lipstick to luxury cars. You figure, why not try it elsewhere? But you quickly learn that what works in Hangzhou doesn't always play in Houston. Some US users are like, wait, is this a shopping channel now? You get feedback like, I opened TikTok to see dogs on skateboards, not buy moisturizer at 9 a.m. Okay, fair. But slowly, something clicks. You lean into influencers who feel native to the app. Not polished TV presenters, not salesy brand reps, just regular creators saying, hey, I found this thing, and it's actually legit. And it works. A TikTok about leggings sells out stock. A 30-second ramen hack doubles a noodle brand's sales in a week. One influencer casually mentions her skincare routine, and suddenly the product's waitlist is 6 weeks long. Brands notice. They come knocking. And some of them? They want more than just ad slots. They want partnerships. Co-branded content. Creator-led campaigns that blur the line between entertainment and commerce. You realize you're not just selling products, you're selling attention, and that's the rarest commodity online. But with great monetization comes great user skepticism. The second the feed starts to feel too addy, users bounce. So you set hard rules. Ads have to be native, entertaining, on brand for the creator. If someone just reads off a script like it's 2010 YouTube, the algorithm shows no mercy, and it's a balancing act. Because on one hand, you want creators to earn money. On the other, you don't want to break the magic. The moment someone swipes and thinks, ugh, another ad, that's the moment you lose. So you focus on a mantra, make the commerce invisible. Make it feel like part of the story, make it scroll-worthy, make it fun. Of course, some analysts call this manipulative. They argue TikTok is training people to spend impulsively, to shop without friction, to chase dopamine through purchases. Others say you're finally giving small businesses the tools they need to reach real audiences without being crushed by ad budgets. Again, no consensus. Welcome to the modern internet. But one thing is clear. TikTok Shop isn't just a feature. It's a battleground. And the war for social commerce, you just joined it. You're sitting in a sleek but slightly too cold meeting room in Singapore, late 2021. The coffee's good, the views are great, and your mind? Well, your mind's on culture. Because no matter how many features you launch or how many brands you onboard. TikTok has become something no roadmap could fully plan for. A culture engine. You're not just riding the wave anymore, you're making it, and you can feel it. From slang to sound bites, memes to music charts, what happens on TikTok doesn't stay on TikTok. It spills into the world like dye into water. Take music, for example. Remember when artists had to get radio play or beg for Spotify playlist placements? Now, a teenager in Ohio posts a 10-second dance to a little-known indie track, and boom, that song is on the Billboard Hot 100 2 weeks later. You've accidentally become the new A&R department of the entire music industry. Labels don't just watch TikTok, they depend on it. You know which songs will trend before most producers do, because you see the data. You see which beats loop well, which lyrics get quoted in captions, which moments get cut, flipped, slowed down, sped up, and memed. Suddenly, everyone from Columbia Records to DIY SoundCloud rappers is begging, "Can we go viral?" And you could say yes. But the truth is, the algorithm's in charge. You don't make hits, you surface them. Even musicians who don't like TikTok admit it's too powerful to ignore. A few try to game the system, writing songs engineered to go viral in 12 seconds. Others film accidental studio leaks to bait engagement. It's a weird new reality, but it's not just music. You're watching language evolve too. Words like Riz, Gayet, and Delulu go mainstream with no clear origin, just a trail of FYP breadcrumbs. Sociolinguists write papers on how Gen Z is speaking in TikTokisms now. Even the Oxford English Dictionary is side-eyeing the app, wondering if it needs to update faster. And the thing is, you didn't plan this. You didn't build TikTok to reinvent slang or rewrite music charts. But it's happening anyway. Because people aren't just consuming content here. They're remixing it, stitching it, flipping it. They're adding their own voice to the echo. It's not broadcast, it's collaboration. And that's what makes it sticky. Still, with all this cultural influence comes a certain level of existential dread, especially from older institutions. Parents don't understand why their kid is suddenly famous for stacking Oreos on their forehead. Teachers are dealing with students referencing memes and essays. Politicians, oh boy, they start worrying about narrative control, especially when political commentary, election misinformation, and micro scandals go viral in under 24 hours. 1 minute it's a trend about pasta chips, the next it's commentary about geopolitics, delivered via green screen with someone lip syncing over it. How do you moderate that? How do you even define what's real? That's the conversation now, not what is TikTok, but what is truth when it's packaged like entertainment. Academics call it context collapse. Information, jokes, opinions, all jammed into the same space, fed by the same algorithm, competing for the same attention span. And it works. But it also blurs the lines. You hear arguments in universities, think tanks, even among your own staff. Should TikTok lean more into verified content? Should we boost educational creators? Should we stop rewarding shock value? The answers? As usual, unclear. Because the moment you start choosing what deserves to be seen, you become more than a platform. You become an editor. And that opens a whole other can of worms. But in the meantime, TikTok continues to shape how the internet behaves. Your app becomes the default template for other platforms. You see Instagram pivot to Reels. YouTube launches Shorts. Even Twitter experiments with vertical video. Everyone's scrambling to catch up. And deep down, they're copying you. The format, the style, the vibe. And sure, they've got cash, but they don't have your soul. Because what makes TikTok different isn't just the tech. It's the people. The weird, brilliant, chaotic users who make a 7-second frog dance go viral. who teach history lessons in cosplay, who invent dances with 80-step footwork and zero context. You didn't train them, you just gave them a stage. And right now, they're running the show. It's a Tuesday. Or maybe it's a Thursday. Honestly, you've lost track, because when you're operating a platform that never sleeps, every day is a Monday and a Saturday at the same time. And today, your legal team has back-to-back calls with regulators in Brussels, Jakarta, Sao Paulo, and Canberra. Why? Because TikTok is no longer just a cultural phenomenon, it's a regulatory Rubik's Cube. Let's start with Europe. The EU's Digital Services Act has entered the chat, and trust me, it's not here to follow you. It's here to audit you. They want to know exactly how your algorithm works, how you moderate hate speech, how you verify ages, how many moderators you've got per language, and while they're at it, they'd like a side of full transparency reports, searchable ad libraries, and some receipts for your community guidelines. Sure, no problem. Just rewrite a decade of infrastructure in 3 months. Next up, Indonesia. A massive market with millions of users and a government that suddenly wants you to separate social media from e-commerce. No more TikTok Shop. At least not unless you can comply with local business licensing laws and limit cross-border selling. You sigh. Because TikTok Shop was just starting to hit its stride in Southeast Asia. But you get it. Governments want to protect local retailers from a Silicon Valley or Beijing-style takeover. They're not banning you yet. They're telling you to play by new rules. So now your lawyers are doing their best impression of a UN peacekeeping force, trying to navigate policies that shift faster than TikTok trends. Meanwhile, Brazil's regulators are investigating TikTok for not doing enough to protect underage users. A judge issues a ruling. You must take stronger steps to verify user ages, or face fines, restrictions, maybe even removal from app stores. You review your age-gating protocols, you add more warnings, require birth dates, increase friction for new signups. But it's a tough sell. Because kids lie. And if there's one thing more advanced than your recommendation engine, it's a determined 11-year-old with Wi-Fi. Now, in the middle of all this, Australia wants to know if their citizens' data could ever be accessed by engineers in China. You say no. You've said no 100 times. Project Texas, Project Clover, data firewalls, access protocols, this isn't your first rodeo. But still, skepticism remains. Because when you grow this fast, trust doesn't scale. And here's the irony. For years, people asked tech companies to do more to fight misinformation, hate speech, and algorithmic harm. Now that you're doing it, building moderation hubs, launching transparency centers, even hiring outside auditors, you're still being told, not enough. Some governments want you to act like a publisher. Others want you to act like a utility. None of them agree on what safe actually means. And you're stuck in the middle, caught between free expression and risk mitigation, between national sovereignty and global connectivity, between engagement metrics and mental health watchdogs. You find yourself in meetings asking questions that have no good answers. How much time is too much time for a teenager to spend on the app? Can we moderate satire without killing it? What do we owe users who go viral for the wrong reasons? These aren't product questions. They're philosophical ones, and some regulators don't want answers. They want assurances. They want someone to blame if things go wrong. And if your logo's on the trend, you're the target. Even your own staff feels it. Your policy team has therapists on speed dial. Your moderation team reviews content so heavy, they're offered mental health days, mandatory ones. And the weirdest part, the app is still fun. Kids are still doing dances, pets are still pretending to talk, food bloggers are still inventing weird sandwiches. It's like two realities running in parallel. One where TikTok is a joyful, creative playground, and one where TikTok is a geopolitical data war zone. And somehow you're running both. The press asks, can TikTok survive all this regulation? But the better question might be, can the world agree on what TikTok even is? So far, the answer is still buffering. It's a rainy afternoon in late 22, and you're in yet another conference call. But this one's different. Because you're not talking about lawsuits, data centers, or PR disasters. You're talking about creators. Specifically, how to keep them from burning out, selling out, or checking out. Because, let's face it, TikTok didn't become what it is by accident. It became TikTok because a high schooler in Kansas made you laugh before your morning coffee. Because a 20-year-old in Lagos did an entire action movie with a green screen and a potato phone. Because a girl in Manila did a dance so catchy, NBA players copied it. Creators are your oxygen. Without them, the algorithm has nothing to recommend. The For You page is just a lonely scroll through tumbleweeds and muted sound bites. And now they're tired. Not all of them, but enough. Enough that it matters. Some say they're hitting a wall, creatively, mentally, even physically. The pressure to go viral every day is real. Because when your job is the algorithm, and the algorithm doesn't sleep, neither do you. Creators start describing TikTok as a treadmill that speeds up every time you succeed. One even says, the For You page giveth, and the For You page taketh away. Oof. So what do? You try to build them a cushion. You expand the creator fund. You roll out Creator Marketplace, a way for brands to connect with influencers for campaigns without sketchy DMs and middlemen. You test tips, subscriptions, series, tools that let creators earn directly from their followers. You want them to feel like this is a career, not just a content hamster wheel. But here's the catch. The Creator Fund? It's not making people rich. It's not even paying rent in many cases. Some creators post a video with 10 million views and make $16, and they're vocal about it. They tweet screenshots, post rants, make videos about how bad the payout is. Not a great look. You respond. You start experimenting with revamped monetization programs, new payout formulas based on watch time, not just views, more nuanced, more fair, more long-tail friendly. It's a step in the right direction, but you know it's not just about money. It's about community, because creators aren't just making videos, they're building tribes, fan bases, friendships, mini ecosystems inside your ecosystem. Some of them treat their comment sections like message boards. Some start entire careers, music, acting, makeup lines, comedy tours, based on a few good weeks on the FYP. So you try to help them grow beyond the app. You partner with agencies. You launch in-app tools that help with branding, analytics, content planning. You start running creator education programs. Because if they burn out, you burn out. Still, there's one big elephant in the room. The algorithm is a black box. Creators don't know why something goes viral. They only know when it does. They ask questions like, why did my last 3 videos flop? Why did my views tank after I took a break? Why is my engagement so random now? And you don't always have a good answer. Because the truth is, even you don't fully control it anymore. The machine is too complex, too adaptive, too sensitive to a million micro signals. Likes, rewatches, skips, comments, shares, watch time, account history, time of day, geolocation, device type. Sometimes the reason a video goes viral is as weird as people rewatched it because the cat in the background looked like it waved. Not exactly a replicable growth strategy. So what happens? Creators burn out trying to reverse engineer the matrix. Some leave, some stay and get resentful. Some pivot to other platforms. And yet, most of them keep creating because deep down they still love it. They love the chaos, the reach, the rush. That moment when a throwaway video hits 1 million views and your phone lights up like a slot machine. That moment when a stranger DMs you from across the world to say, "Your video made my day." That moment when you feel seen. It's real, it's addictive, it's beautiful, it's exhausting. And for now, it's the cost of playing the game. But as the architect of this entire ecosystem, you know one thing for sure. If you don't take care of your creators, someone else will. And the For You page, it doesn't care who makes the content. It only cares that it keeps scrolling. It's 2023 now. Your team is bigger, your office chairs are comfier, your dashboards are crisper. But the questions? They've gotten weirder. Because today, you are not just tweaking features or localizing an app. You're sitting in a product review meeting, staring at a prototype that's been generating buzz internally, an editing tool powered by AI that suggests punchlines, video clips, even background music. And you're thinking, wait, are we about to automate TikTok itself? Because here's what's happening. Creators are tired, editors are expensive, creativity is messy, but AI doesn't sleep, doesn't complain, doesn't need coffee or credit. So your team builds tools. One that suggests hashtags based on video content. One that trims awkward silences from audio. One that scans a rough video and says, "Here's a version with tighter cuts, trending filters, and more optimized music sync." And honestly, it works a little too well. Newbie creators start posting like pros. A 14-year-old uploads a parody trailer for an imaginary action film. AI helped cut the transitions, added explosions, and even wrote the fake reviews. It goes viral. People start asking, is this a trailer or a joke or performance art? You don't know. But the algorithm doesn't care. It gets watched, it gets shared, it wins. So now you're in a strange new era. The rise of synthetic creativity. And it's not just edits. Users are beginning to use AI voiceovers, AI-generated avatars, AI-written skits. Some creators literally type a prompt like, "Make a TikTok script about a Gen Z vampire at a job interview." And boom, 30 seconds later, they're filming it. Somewhere in a design meeting, someone jokes, "It's like Canva for attention spans." But underneath the laughs is a deeper concern. What happens when the entire pipeline, from idea to edit to upload, is algorithmically assisted? Where's the human in the loop? Some users love it. They feel empowered. "I'm not a creative person," one posts, "but this app makes me feel like I could be." Others feel cheated. They scroll past a slick cooking video and comment, "Okay, but did you make this or did ChatGPT?" Creators are split too. Some embrace the tools. They run their accounts like mini production studios, outsourcing everything to AI and saving time for brand deals. Others resist. They post raw videos with "no AI used" in the caption like it's a badge of honor. You know what's wild? This debate? It's the exact same one happening in art schools, in writing forums, in podcasting studios. The whole internet is asking, is AI killing creativity or supercharging it? You don't pretend to have the answer. But you do know this. TikTok was already a platform where creativity came in weird shapes. People used text-to-speech because they were shy. They used duets to reply without talking. They made jokes using green screen and iPhone flashlights. Now they're doing the same. just with more firepower. And the feed? The feed keeps evolving. You start seeing genres you never imagined. AI-generated sitcom intros about fictional roommates named Pickle and Steve. Lo-fi beats to study to with AI-generated landscapes and blinking owls. Historical reenactments where Socrates debates Kanye. Yes, really. Some of it is beautiful, some of it is deeply confusing. All of it is engaging, and that's where things get tricky. Because with AI, you can generate infinite content, but infinite content doesn't mean infinite connection. Some users say TikTok is starting to feel a little too perfect, like it's been optimized into a feedback loop of hyper-tailored, slightly uncanny content. One user comments, "I love TikTok, but lately it feels like my For You page knows me better than I know myself. And I'm not sure that's a good thing." And you feel that. Because now you're asking a different kind of question. What does authenticity even mean in a world where everyone has a scriptwriter, an editor, and a casting director in their phone? You used to worry about moderation. Now you worry about meaning. The stories that rise, the jokes that land, the dances that stick. Are they still human or just highly effective simulations? Some creators lean into it. They joke, "This video was brought to you by AI, ADHD, and Jesus." Others step back entirely. They long for the early TikTok days, blurry, chaotic, full of weird edits and dogs with human voices. You wonder, is there a way back? Or is this just the next version of the internet? One that's curated by machines but still deeply emotional. Whatever it is, it's happening. And TikTok? TikTok isn't just the stage anymore. It's becoming the studio. You're walking through your office hallway. Any office, really. They all look the same now. Glass walls, standing desks, someone's old hoodie on the back of a Herman Miller chair. But your head isn't in the room, it's in the numbers. Because despite the creator burnout, the AI debates, the regulatory landmines, TikTok is still growing. And not just in user count, in influence. You scroll through your For You page and start to notice something different. It's not just dances or cooking tips or comedic rants anymore. It's civic conversations. It's climate change explainers, election facts, grassroots organizing, and oh wow, is that a city council candidate in a duet? Welcome to the era where TikTok is no longer just entertainment. It's education and politics and public health and whatever else people care about enough to make into a 59-second captioned, auto-filtered vertical video. In 2023, TikTok becomes a kind of town square, except it's hyper-personalized, algorithmic, and sometimes narrated by an anime voice filter. Teachers use it to break down physics concepts. Doctors explain vaccines. Financial advisors, some with real credentials, some with questionable vibes, give hot takes on credit scores. It's fascinating and chaotic. And you realize you've become a default search engine for Gen Z. They're not Googling how to file taxes. They're TikToking it. One user posts, "I trust TikTok more than Google. I don't want 10 links. I want one video from someone who's been there." This is flattering and also terrifying. Because now people aren't just watching, they're believing. So you try to keep up, you launch information panels on sensitive topics, election guides, climate facts, mental health resources. You build partnerships with trusted organizations, UNICEF, the WHO, state governments. You even add a literal "is this helpful" button and for every success story, like a teen learning how to register to vote, or someone recognizing a mental health issue early. There's a moment of panic. A video goes viral claiming something completely false. Sometimes it's silly, like bananas cure anxiety better than therapy. Sometimes it's dangerous, like how to fake a negative COVID test. The moderation team jumps in, takes it down, but the ripple already happened. And that's the thing about TikTok. You can delete a video, but you can't unviral it. So you start investing harder in proactive detection, new AI moderation tools, better internal escalation paths, more collaboration with third-party fact-checkers. But the question still lingers. Should a dance app be the front line in the fight against misinformation? You didn't build TikTok to become a truth arbiter, but here you are. Meanwhile, on the flip side, creators are doing something unexpected. They're using TikTok to teach. Not in the dry 2005 YouTube way, but in a high-energy, cram this knowledge into 90 seconds with cutaways, memes, and dramatic sound effects way. And it works. There's a guy breaking down ancient Roman history with puppet voices. There's a woman explaining the US healthcare system using stuffed animals and a shopping cart. There's a kid translating legalese into TikTokese. Okay, so what your landlord actually can't do is you love it. The engagement is off the charts. Even universities are taking notes. Some professors assign TikToks as homework. Others assign making TikToks as homework. And somewhere in a business school, a professor says, TikTok has collapsed the barrier between creator and educator. But it's not all smooth. There's criticism too. Some experts argue TikTok is too fast for nuance. They say you can't explain climate policy or historical genocide in 30 seconds, that the format incentivizes oversimplification, that bite-sized truth is still truth with corners cut. You get it. You also know people learn differently now, and a short-form video that sparks curiosity might be more effective than a textbook no one opens. You're not replacing schools, but maybe you're a bridge. Still, the role you now occupy, somewhere between streaming service, search engine, news outlet, and school board, wasn't in the original pitch deck. And yet, here you are, moderating conversations on everything from serotonin levels to Supreme Court cases, watching memes evolve into movements, trying to balance open expression with public responsibility, trying to avoid turning into, well, Facebook. That's the unspoken fear inside your halls, that you might grow too big, too corporate, too predictable. But so far, you're still weird, still wild, still full of frogs wearing tiny sunglasses and amateur economists explaining inflation with candy bars. And in a world where attention is currency, TikTok, you're the bank. You're looking at a live stream, not just watching it, orchestrating it. Because now, in 2023, live video isn't just a feature on TikTok, it's becoming a pillar, a new frontier, a place where creators and brands and fans collide in real time. But this isn't the just chatting vibe of other platforms. This is TikTok Live, and it moves fast, sells fast, feels fast. You're watching a creator in Vietnam show off a line of budget-friendly lipstick. She's got 50,000 viewers. There's a countdown clock. Product links flutter across the bottom like confetti. Someone just bought 12 sets. Another user drops a galaxy animation. It's chaotic, hypnotic, pure dopamine. And you think, this might be bigger than we imagined. Because live shopping, live stream commerce isn't new in Asia. In China, it's already a multi-billion-dollar industry. You've seen influencers sling rice cookers, caw entire real estate units in a single broadcast. And now, you're betting it can work in the West. So you ramp up. You build out TikTok Shop Live. You partner with brands, some scrappy, some iconic. You give creators dashboards, flash sale tools, comment moderation, tip jars, filters, shopping overlays. You hire teams to train the next wave of live stream sellers, part entertainer, part product evangelist, part auctioneer. And it works, sometimes. There's the creator who sells out 3,000 jars of pickled garlic in under 10 minutes. The skincare guru who nets 60K in one stream. The small bakery in Manchester that doubles its monthly revenue from a single behind-the-scenes baking plus Q&A plus order now live stream. You love those wins, but there are misses too. Live streams where only 6 people show up. Streams that get spammed with trolls. Creators who go viral for all the wrong reasons. Awkward bloopers, audio fails, overpromises. And then there's the US market. Oh, America. The land of don't sell to me unless I'm already halfway convinced. You test live commerce in the States and it's lukewarm. Some call it cringe. Others say it feels too much like QVC with ring lights. Even big name creators get nervous. They say, I'm not a salesperson, or I don't want to ruin my vibe. One tweets, I'll dance, I'll joke, but I'm not hawking shampoo on live like it's Black Friday at Costco. You get it. But you also know this model can work. It just needs adjusting. Less sales pitch, more storytelling, less pressure, more authenticity. So you shift gears. You start helping creators integrate commerce into their natural content. Not, hey, buy this. More like, here's the outfit I'm wearing, and if you want it, it's linked below. One user films a get ready with me at 6 a.m. before her nursing shift. She casually mentions her favorite shoes. They sell out in 3 hours. Turns out recommendation is stronger than persuasion. So you start talking internally about a new term, community-first commerce. Let people buy things from people they trust, not people who just shout the loudest. Let entertainment lead, with commerce riding sidecar. Because when people feel like they're being sold to, they shut down. But when they feel like they're in on something, they lean in. Still, not everyone's on board. Some traditional advertisers are like, wait, we have to hand control to creators? And you say, yeah. Because authenticity can't be scripted and attention can't be bought. It has to be earned. So your product team refines the live interface. Cleaner overlays, better moderation, viewer rewards, co-host options. You roll out pop-up training for creators, how to engage live without sounding like a late-night infomercial, and it starts to click. Live becomes a moment, not a commercial. Fans show up not just to buy, but to hang out. Creators answer questions, share tips, tell stories, laugh at their own tech glitches. And somewhere in your analytics dashboard, you see what you've been waiting for. Session time's up, conversion rates climbing, return viewers increasing. It's working, it's not huge yet, but it's real. A hybrid of influence, entertainment, and e-commerce that no one else has nailed quite like this. And once again, you realize TikTok isn't copying anyone's playbook anymore. You're writing your own, one stream at a time. You're not sure when it started exactly. Maybe around the time someone stitched a video about inflation with a Minecraft parody song. But at some point, you realize something very strange and very real. TikTok has become the internet's brainstem. And that brain is Gen Z. You watch them joke in hyper-ironic tones, speak in abbreviations you need urban dictionaries to understand, and use edits, cuts, and green screen memes like punctuation marks. It's not just content anymore, it's a language, a grammar of chaos, of vibes, of you had to be there. They don't just use TikTok, they breathe it. Slang, TikTok, fashion trends, TikTok. What's cool, what's cringe, what's over, what's mid. It's all decided right there on the scroll. You see someone write in a Reddit thread, TikTok isn't just an app, it's where culture happens. And you kind of choke on your coffee because, yeah, that's the whole game now. You're not just a platform, you're a culture factory. And that factory never shuts down. Somewhere, right now, a teenager is turning a tax explainer into a musical. A teacher is making calculus funny using capybara memes. A guy just coined the term lore drop to explain how his ex texted him during therapy. No one blinks. Because this is how Gen Z rolls. They remix. They reclaim. They reply to replies of replies, stacking irony on sincerity until it collapses in on itself like a black hole of meta content. And you're just trying to keep up. But here's what's wild. They trust TikTok. Not necessarily the company, but the content. They'll watch a video from someone with 48 followers and say, okay, yeah, she seems real. I'll try that skincare routine. They'll follow a stranger who stitched a book review, and suddenly that book's sold out at every Barnes & Noble on the continent. That trust is powerful, but also fragile. One misstep, one scandal, one too obvious algorithm push, and they'll turn on you in a heartbeat. You've seen it happen. You promote something too aggressively, they call it forced. You tweak the algorithm and people's views dip. Conspiracy theories explode. You launch a new feature, they roast it in the comments before the update even finishes installing. They care, deeply, but they also know the rules of the internet better than you do. And they'll call you out, in-app, on Twitter, in Discord servers you'll never find. So you listen. You start rolling out, why am I seeing this video? Buttons. You test content labeling tools for AI-generated clips. You even experiment with letting users pick what they want to see less of, not just what they like. And your research team? They start publishing transparency reports faster than you can proofread them. Because now, trust is a product. It's not a press release. It's baked into the app, into how you handle comments, how you respond to criticism, how fast you act when someone crosses a line. But that doesn't mean things are always chill. Because TikTok is now so central to youth culture, it ends up being blamed for, well, everything. Kids are tired in school? TikTok. Slang changing too fast? TikTok. Teens developing anxiety over not going viral? TikTok. That weird TikTok trend where people pretend to be NPCs for money? Also TikTok. Some of it's fair, some of it's projection, but either way, it's your problem now. So, what do? You invest in digital literacy programs. You run in-app campaigns. Take a break. Think before you share. This is not medical advice. You build out creator tools that let people manage comments, filter keywords, slow down feedback loops, and you remind yourself, TikTok doesn't make culture, it reflects it. It just happens to reflect it faster and louder than anything else. Still, deep in your gut, you wonder, is Gen Z shaping TikTok, or is TikTok shaping Gen Z? Sociologists argue both. One professor calls it a mirror with a megaphone. Another says it's more like a hall of mirrors, with vibes. No one agrees, and maybe that's the point. Because culture is never clean. It's messy, meme-y. It evolves by accident as often as on purpose. And TikTok? TikTok is the petri dish, a place where a kid can go viral for reviewing pens and then use that clout to launch a nonprofit. Yes, that happened. Where a phrase like girl dinner becomes a national debate about gender and food. Where a woman casually joking about being Delulu spawns a global movement of radical optimism. You didn't plan for any of it, but you built the place where it could happen. And now, you're watching a generation not just consume culture, but co-author it, one stitch at a time. It's a quiet evening, at least on the surface, You're in the office, late again, looking over the latest round of performance reviews, content audits, and user trust feedback loops. Your For You page has everything from a capybara driving a toy car to a think piece on late-stage capitalism delivered via sock puppet. Just another Tuesday. But today, there's one more thing on your mind. Something bigger. Because quietly, internally, you and the exec team have been discussing a word that's haunted every unicorn startup since the first one galloped through Silicon Valley: IPO. That's right. Initial, public, offering, taking TikTok, or at least part of the ByteDance empire, public. Turning years of growth, chaos, drama, and cultural upheaval into a neatly priced slice of the stock market. Wall Street is curious. Investors are circling. Analysts are already fantasizing in headlines. Will TikTok be the next Meta? A cultural juggernaut goes corporate. But the truth? You're nervous. Because being a startup, being private, gave you room to experiment, to be weird, to mess up. Going public? That's a whole different ballgame. Quarterly earnings, shareholder calls, regulatory disclosures so thick they could prop open a heavy fire door. You imagine an earnings call where someone actually has to say, this quarter, our top performing vertical was a niche meme genre where people pretend to be vending machines. Yeah, good luck with that. But the thing is, the business is maturing. You've already built out commerce, creator tools, ad platforms, brand partnerships. You're working with every major label, Hollywood studios, Fortune 100 companies, and governments, sometimes all in the same week. TikTok is big, maybe too big to stay in the shadows. So you start prepping internally, streamlining reporting structures, tightening moderation policy enforcement, beefing up legal, compliance, and transparency teams. You launch more brand-safe ad products, more privacy dashboards, more oversight. Because the last thing you want is to go public and then get hit with some new scandal because someone forgot to flag a trending filter that was questionable. Still, there's something else eating at you. Something less spreadsheety. What happens when TikTok goes corporate? Like really corporate. When content decisions are influenced not by community but by stockholders. When creativity starts getting filtered through legal review. When risk aversion starts to eat the magic alive. You've seen it happen before, to other platforms, other visionaries. Somewhere out there, a TikTok creator is uploading a video about how going public will ruin the vibe. You want to argue, but they might not be wrong. So your job, if you do move forward, is to keep the weirdness alive while scaling up the business. And that's a very particular kind of tightrope. You talk with your team about preserving what you call creative chaos, the engine of discovery, the duets that shouldn't work but do, the videos that are so bad they loop back around to genius, the late night uploads with zero context and 1.2 million likes by morning. How do you protect that? You bake it into your product roadmaps. You resist the urge to over-sanitize. You let the algorithm stay a little unpredictable. Because the truth is, what made TikTok explode wasn't money. It wasn't ad tech or cloud computing. It was feeling. That raw, scroll till you laugh feeling. That, wait, who made this feeling? That I was just looking for one recipe and now it's 2 a.m. feeling. That's what IPO papers can't capture. And that's what your future investors may not understand. But if you do this right, they won't have to. Because the value won't just come from growth. It'll come from resilience. TikTok doesn't ride culture. It survives it, adapts to it, becomes part of it. So, yeah, going public is scary. But maybe, just maybe, you've built something weird enough and loved enough to pull it off. And maybe the real question isn't, can TikTok survive Wall Street? Maybe it's, can Wall Street survive TikTok? You're halfway through a leadership retreat in Singapore. There's coconut water, someone brought a ukulele, and the PowerPoint deck has a slide titled, "What does resilience actually look like?" You kind of want to roll your eyes, but you don't. Because you know this isn't fluff, it's survival strategy. TikTok may feel immortal on the outside, like it's always been here, always will be here, but internally you're very aware that the internet doesn't hand out lifetime achievement awards. Every empire falls eventually. Every platform becomes the old thing. Ask Vine, ask Tumblr, ask any startup that once trended on TechCrunch and now exists only as a remember when. And so now your focus shifts from growth to durability. You don't just want to be big, you want to be inevitable. So you ask yourself, what are the weak points? Where does TikTok break if you pull the wrong thread? You start from the outside in. Geopolitics? Check. You're still fending off scrutiny from regulators on multiple continents, still walking the tightrope of operating globally while staying locally compliant. Some countries want more data transparency, others want complete control. And honestly, some just want to cut. Competition? Always. YouTube Shorts is growing. Instagram Reels is throwing everything it has at vertical video. Even LinkedIn is testing TikTok-style formats now. Yeah, LinkedIn. But the biggest risk? User trust. Because trust isn't like user retention. It doesn't show up neatly on a dashboard. It's fragile, human, prone to sudden collapse. So you build guardrails. You invest heavily in content integrity. You refine your community guidelines, clear rules, more transparency, faster appeals. You launch initiatives to flag deepfakes and AI-generated deception. Your trust and safety team triples in size. You launch TikTok Transparency Center 2.0, where researchers can literally observe how the algorithm behaves in real-world scenarios. You even start publishing quarterly threat reports, detailing state-linked information campaigns you've blocked. Because at this point, you're not just protecting the app, you're protecting the whole ecosystem. Still, algorithms are only part of the story. Culture evolves. And if you want to stay relevant, you have to evolve too. So you do what TikTok's always done best. Listen. You scan the comments, you track emerging subcultures, you run focus groups with teens in Detroit, artists in Nairobi, activists in Jakarta. You discover new tribes, Core, Book Talk, Clean Talk, Witch Talk, Finfluencers, chronically online overthinkers. Some are ironic, some sincere, all of them real. Each one a signal that TikTok is more than trends. It's texture. It contains multitudes. And that's your edge. While other platforms flatten everything into sanitized content, TikTok still feels alive. Weird. Messy. Occasionally a little broken in a lovable way. But now comes the hard part. Preserving that texture at scale. Because as the app matures, so do expectations. Creators want more analytics, more monetization, more protection from burnout and harassment. Brands want clean environments, measurable ROI, cultural cachet. Governments want compliance, transparency, accountability, and users want everything. Freedom and safety, wildness and polish, authenticity and convenience. So you prioritize flexibility. You test localized content strategies in smaller countries. You experiment with more in-app tools that let users choose what kinds of content they want to see or avoid. You invest in AI explainability, letting users peek behind the curtain just enough to feel in control. And slowly, TikTok stops being just a platform. It becomes an infrastructure, like roads, like electricity, like Wi-Fi, not flashy, not always adored, but expected. You're building something that can bend without breaking, shift without snapping, grow without losing its soul. Because that's what resilience looks like in 2024. Not invincibility, not infinite growth, just adaptability. The kind that doesn't panic when the algorithm hiccups, or a creator burns out, or a policy change knocks half your features offline in one country. The kind that understands one basic truth: the scroll must go on. And as long as it does, TikTok isn't just surviving, it's evolving. You're in a dimly lit editing suite in LA, surrounded by half-drunk matcha lattes, ring lights, and a whiteboard that says, in very large Sharpie font, "How do we keep making magic?" It's both a philosophical question and a panic memo. Because here's the thing, TikTok's no longer the new kid. It's the platform everyone else copies. And now you're asking a different kind of question. How do you keep the app exciting when it's already everything? That's the problem with becoming the culture. You stop reacting to trends because you are the trend. And weirdly, that kind of power, it makes you nervous. Because when you're too big to fail, you're also too visible to slip. So you look back at your roots. You remember what made TikTok fun. The messiness, the randomness, the way someone could go viral from their basement in Belarus with nothing but a pet raccoon and a dream. So you double down on surprise. You make the algorithm a little less predictable, reintroducing novelty, diversity, weird stuff that breaks the scroll rhythm just enough to make people say, "Wait, what was that?" You start promoting content from emerging subcultures, things the average user might never discover otherwise. You give priority to what some PMs now call scroll disruptors, things that aren't just sticky, they're strangely human. A grandma speaking in riddles, a guy explaining time zones using pancakes, a duet between a violinist and someone playing spoons on a toaster oven. Not everything needs to be polished, not everything needs to go viral, but everything needs to feel like it could. That's the sweet spot. Because when people feel like TikTok is theirs, a place where they could blow up, or just laugh, or just be seen, they keep coming back. And the more you lean into that feeling, the more creators return to their roots too. Less content calendar, more impulse upload. Less scripted, more real. And yeah, you've still got mega influencers, studio collabs, branded campaigns that cost more than indie films. But in between all of that, you still have videos of cats dramatically flopping to 2010 emo soundtracks. Still have chaotic energy, still have soul, and soul. That's your competitive moat. That's the one thing the clones haven't figured out how to replicate, because Reels can copy your layout, Shorts can copy your tools, but none of them have cracked the feeling. The scrolling through TikTok at 2 a.m. and suddenly crying at a video of a duck crossing the road to a Billie Eilish song feeling. That vibe, that's all you. So you protect it. You resist the urge to over-monetize the feed. You resist the temptation to professionalize everything. You let chaos breathe. Meanwhile, your product team is testing longer form videos, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Some people say, wait, isn't that just YouTube? And you say, kind of, but also not really. Because these aren't polished explainer videos with intros and outros. They're stream of consciousness story times, POVs with minimal edits, deep dives where someone talks for 7 straight minutes about 14th century cryptography, and somehow you can't stop watching. And here's the irony. In a world obsessed with shorter attention spans, TikTok is making people stay longer. It's not about how short content is. It's about how fast you can get to the point and how deep you can make someone feel in that point. That's why 60-second comedy skits still work. That's why 10-minute emotional breakdowns in car seats also work. It's not the duration, it's the density of connection. And the more you lean into that, the more you realize something weird and beautiful. You didn't just build a content app. You built a place where people show up as themselves, or at least the most performative, authentic, chaotic, mask-wearing, oversharing, lovable versions of themselves. And somehow that's still magic. Even after all this time, even with regulators at the gates and competitors at your heels, even as you scale. Because TikTok doesn't need to be perfect, it just needs to feel alive. It's late. The kind of late where Slack notifications have gone quiet, the office lights are motion sensing and starting to flicker off, and the city skyline outside your window looks like a paused video game. And in this rare silence, you're thinking about something that's been creeping into internal conversations more and more. What happens when the world stops trusting platforms? Because let's face it, tech has a trust problem. Not just TikTok, all of it. Social media, search engines, even AI. Somewhere along the way, people went from, wow, this app is so cool, to, what are they doing with my data? And you're in a unique spot, because you've been under the microscope from day one. Where others got a grace period, you got Senate hearings. Where others got assumed innocence, you got grilled for every UI change and privacy toggle. Sometimes fairly, sometimes not. But either way, you've had to grow up faster. So now, you take trust seriously, like obsessively. You've got a dedicated division for accountability architecture, a fancy term for all the ways you try to prove that you're not being shady. You've implemented Project Clover in Europe, mirroring the US Project Texas, data separation, local storage, third-party oversight, all the buzzwords, but also real code, real policy, real guardrails. You hire outside auditors, let academic researchers peek into your backend, even launch a transparency API so journalists and watchdogs can analyze trending content patterns. You publish what used to be internal-only moderation logs. Every takedown, every reversal, every gray area decision. Because you've learned something the hard way. Secrecy makes people suspicious, even if you're doing the right thing. So now you over-communicate. You tell users how the algorithm works, what affects their feed, how to reset it, how to train it. You push updates not just to features, but to philosophy. You put a literal, why am I seeing this, button under videos. You show how content is ranked. You admit that the system isn't perfect, and you know what? People respect it. Not everyone, not always, but enough. Because trust isn't about perfection, it's about transparency through imperfection. Still, the fight isn't over. Misinformation keeps mutating. AI-generated content makes it harder to detect what's real. Some users post wild claims not because they believe them, but because they know outrage spreads. And TikTok, like every platform, has to ask, are we amplifying chaos? So you adjust. You start throttling content velocity for unverified news. You build systems that slow virality for questionable topics, buying moderators more time to review. You partner with media literacy organizations, embedding reminders like, pause before you share, have you checked the source? You try to bake critical thinking into the scroll itself, but you're also realistic. You know you're not going to fix the internet. You're just trying not to break it any further. And that's hard because TikTok is now where people learn things they didn't get in school. Not just facts, experiences, how people live in different countries, how it feels to be neurodivergent, what it's like to come out, to parent, to grieve, to rebuild. It's not just information, it's life. Told through shaky camera angles, goofy captions, and the occasional dog in sunglasses. And so you walk this line between openness and safety, between reach and responsibility, between fun and function. Some board members want you to go more corporate, some users want you to stay weird, and you just want to keep the soul intact while making sure no one gets hurt. Because you've learned something else. Every great platform ends up becoming a mirror. And what people see in it, that's a reflection of us. The joy, the pain, the creativity, the chaos. TikTok didn't invent any of it. You just built the window. And now, you're trying to keep the glass clean. It's morning now. The sun's just cracking through the blinds of your office in Los Angeles. One of many offices, but this one has the best espresso machine. So here you are. Your phone buzzes with a notification. A creator just hit 100 million followers. You smile a little, but you're also oddly calm. Because this kind of news used to make waves. Press coverage, charts, exec dashboards, lighting up like Christmas. Now it's just expected. Because TikTok has reached a place most platforms only dream of. Ubiquity. Everyone knows it, everyone uses it, and yet no one can agree on what it really is. Is it social media, a video platform, a search engine, a marketplace, a political lightning rod, an entertainment network? The answer, of course, is yes, to all of it. And that's both your superpower and your next great challenge. Because the broader you become, the more different needs you have to serve. You're now juggling. A 14-year-old in Brazil learning how to code from memes. A 38-year-old in Texas selling ceramics via livestream. A public health agency trying to combat vaccine misinformation. A DJ in Seoul debuting new tracks. A nonprofit in Kenya teaching financial literacy in 60 seconds. They're all here, in the same app, on the same scroll. So now you think less like a tech founder and more like an urban planner. How do you build a space that can hold all of that? Not just scale it, but design it. So you start applying urban design thinking to digital space, zoning. You separate for you, following, and explore tabs with clearer user intent. Traffic flow, you optimize how content moves through trends, fast enough to feel viral, but not so fast that nuance dies in the first 5 seconds. Community infrastructure, you build better comment tools, improve moderation, and features that allow creators to shape who engages with them. You even add quiet little design tweaks like screen time reminders and bedtime nudges, not because you're trying to be moral heroes, but because you know that if TikTok turns into a digital Las Vegas, bright lights, no clocks, no exits, it'll burn itself out. You want sustainability, not just for your business, for users too. Meanwhile, inside your own company, something else is shifting. You're not scrappy anymore. You're a global organization with thousands of employees, layers of management, policies, documentation, compliance officers, entire teams dedicated to cross-functional alignment, whatever that means. Some of the early team members are nostalgic. They remember when TikTok was still Douyin's Western cousin, trying to convince American teenagers that vertical video was cool. Now you're holding all-hands meetings across time zones. You're giving presentations to diplomats. You're co-developing curriculum with NGOs. You're grown up. But here's the part that still surprises you. People still love the app. Yes, they complain. They meme on your updates. They protest when you mess with the algorithm. But they keep scrolling. They keep creating. They keep building mini lives inside the TikTok universe. One dance, one POV, one late night story time at a time. Because what you've built, it's not just an app anymore, it's a rhythm. It's how people kill time, how they bond with strangers, how they feel seen in a world that often doesn't look back. You think of that sometimes, how many people found their best friends, their partners, their selves here. It's kind of terrifying, but also kind of beautiful. And as you sip your espresso, watching the sunlight slowly illuminate the office wall with the words painted in giant white letters, make it meaningful, you realize that's still the goal. Has been since day one, even when the meaning was just make someone laugh on their worst day, even when the meaning was help someone find their voice, even now, because the scroll never stops. But neither does the search for something worth scrolling for. You're standing backstage. Not literally, there's no curtain, no spotlight. But metaphorically, you're in the wings, watching the world spin on the stage you helped build. And in this moment, 2025, 5 years after TikTok truly exploded, you're thinking about something most founders don't admit out loud. What if this is the beginning of the next act? Because you've built something that rewired the internet. You didn't just create a product, you created a behavior. Scrolling as instinct, remixing as language, a world where people don't just consume, they contribute, one stitched sentence at a time. And now? Now you're thinking about what comes next. Not just for TikTok, for you. You've weathered bans, lawsuits, market exits, political flame wars, culture wars, trend wars, and more conspiracy theories than you ever cared to read on Reddit. You survived India, you survived Washington, you even survived LinkedIn trying to do vertical video. Barely. But through it all, the question that kept you up at night wasn't, what's going viral? It was, are we still useful? Because TikTok stopped being a trend machine years ago. Now it's a toolbox for art, for education, for protest, for celebration. You've seen people live stream weddings, propose through duets, start businesses, document grief, find entire communities they didn't know they needed. You didn't plan for that, but you built the system that made it possible, so now you protect it. You invest in AI literacy, so people understand what's real accessibility, so anyone can create, even with one hand, one eye, one language. Creator mental health, so people don't lose themselves chasing numbers. Archiving. Because what people are making here, it's history. You start preserving viral moments like cultural artifacts. Because future generations might look back at this and say, this is what the internet felt like in the 2020s. And let's be real, not everything was beautiful, but it was real. And in a world that's increasingly filtered, branded, calculated, real is your last competitive advantage. So you lean into it. You deprioritize vanity metrics in favor of retention and sentiment. You redesign the app's homepage to highlight creators with soul, not just scale. You introduce new content verticals, slow talk, analog talk, field recordings, experiments in digital calm. People scoff at first, but then they start to like it. Because deep down, even the most overstimulated user is still a human being. Looking for meaning, looking for themselves. And TikTok, it's still one of the rare places where they might actually find it. So here you are, at the end of Act 1, maybe Act 2, who knows? You walk through the office, quiet now, late night again. You pass by someone editing a clip on their phone. She's laughing. You don't know what at. But you don't need to. Because the scroll is still moving. still surprising, still alive. And if that's not worth building, what is? And now, you can let go. The scroll slows, the buzz fades. You've walked the whole road, from a cramped Beijing apartment full of ideas to global offices full of impact, influence, and impossibly fast Wi-Fi. You've weathered chaos and headlines, culture wars and dance challenges. You've seen your creation go from algorithmic experiment to emotional playground. You've watched the world change through a vertical screen. And now, it's night. You're not pitching, planning, or checking dashboards. You're just here, breathing. And if you close your eyes, you can still hear it. The faint hum of someone laughing across the world at a stitched video of a cat falling into a cereal bowl. The subtle joy of connection, absurdity, and unfiltered humanness. That's the heartbeat you built. And it's still beating, so rest now. You've done enough. The app will keep scrolling, the kids will keep dancing, the creators will keep creating. And you can sleep, you can dream. Because for once, the internet's okay without you for a few hours.